What's up guys, this is Matt and welcome to the second episode of building my dream PC. And as you can probably see, I've made a good number of upgrades since the last video. If you don't know what I'm using, I'll quickly run over the specs right now. So my PC is rocking a Haswell E5 V3 Xeon that has 12 cores and 24 threads. The CPU is an early stepping, so I got it for a really good deal on eBay. The one caveat is that it only goes up to 2.5 GHz, which isn't great for gaming. The CPU is sitting inside of an EVGA X99 Micro 2 motherboard with 16GB of DDR4 memory at 2400 MHz. For graphics, I've got an EVGA GTX 1060 3GB. For storage, I've got an OCZ VX500 for my boot drive and an RD400 as a scratch disk for video editing. I need to figure out a solution for mass storage soon though, and all of this is inside of the Corsair Obsidian 350D Micro ATX case. So the first big thing I wanted to talk about is the case. The new case I'm using is the Anidees AI Crystal White, and let me tell you, this case looks absolutely amazing. When I first pulled it out of the box, I wasn't super impressed. It just looked like a black box with white accents because of how dark the tint is. But once you turn it on and the four included LED fans turn on, it really does a pretty good job of illuminating the internals of the PC. There were a couple of things that made building in this case kind of frustrating, but it was well worth it, and I will have a full review of this case coming out shortly, so make sure to subscribe so you can see when that comes out. So I began taking all the parts out of my prior case, the Corsair Obsidian 350D, and I moved them over to this case. This is a full-size ATX case, and I'm using a micro ATX motherboard, but it doesn't look out of place or too small. While the motherboard was out on the table, I installed the new RAM I thought I was going to be using, which is this 16GB kit of 3200 MHz Trident Z RAM. This RAM looks and performs absolutely amazing, and the thing about this motherboard is that as long as the first DIMM slot is populated, the second stick can go into any of the others and still maintain dual channel operation. So I just stuck them side by side. Also, I'm using a new power supply now, which is the EVGA 850B2 semi-modular PSU I had showed off in the last episode of unboxing a bunch of tech, which is much better than the sketchy 550 watt power supply I had in there before. So I finished putting everything in the case, and I thought this was going to be everything for this update, but then a package came in earlier than I expected. This package was from Galax, and inside was the GTX 1070 EXOC Sniper and 16GB of their 3600 MHz Hall of Fame RAM. So what I decided to do was pop in the GPU and RAM from Galax and save the Trident Z RAM for a build I'm going to be doing later in December. So I took out the Trident Z RAM and popped in the Galax RAM, and then popped out the 1063GB so the 1070 could go in its place. But what I found is that because of how high up the backplate is on this card, it actually couldn't fit in the top slot, so I put it in the second slot, which I actually like the look of a lot. So let's talk about this GPU for a minute. This is one of Galax's GTX 1070s that's actually overclocked out of the box. It features a dual fan design with an aluminum shroud, RGB LEDs on the GTX logo, and on the really cool plastic sliver under the backplate, with the only aesthetic turnoff being the red LEDs on the fans that can't be turned off or changed, which kind of left me scratching my head, but honestly, even with the light blue color I settled on, it doesn't look that bad. Using Galax's Extreme Tuner Plus software and their one-click overclock, the card was boosting almost all the way up to 2100 MHz, which was pretty impressive for a non-manual overclock. Just jumping into GTA 5, I was looking at around a 60% improvement in FPS over the 1060 I was using before, with around 80 FPS average on high settings at 3440 by 1440p. Now I will be doing a full review of this card and benchmarking it with a higher clock CPU like a 6600K, so stay tuned for that. Galax products for a while weren't really available in the US, but they have begun selling them on their website, which I'll have a link to in the description. But yeah, I really like the way this card looks, and in this case with the LEDs and tempered glass, I'm really liking the way this PC looks. I think the next upgrade is going to be to get some cable extensions for the power supply, as these cables aren't all that aesthetically pleasing. So I think this wraps this video up, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, make sure to give this video a big thumbs up, as well as consider subscribing for more PC and tech related content in the future. And as always, this is Matt from Tech by Matt, signing out.